So this is the top view of the NMR, and we can just lift open the top. The valve should be on down spinning when there is a sample inside, and turn to eject to remove a sample. In this cylinder is where samples will go, and there's always a sample in the NMR. We're going to turn the valve clockwise to eject the current sample. Now notice a Teflon spinner is on the sample. We will use a Kim wipe to remove it from the current sample and set that aside. We will then put our sample in the spinner and use the spacer to make sure that the spinner is positioned correctly. You'll need to push the NMR tube down into the spacer until it stops, and you don't need to push hard. We will use a Kim wipe to then clean the sides of the NMR tube and then set it inside the NMR. We will then turn the valve counterclockwise to drop the sample into the NMR. Check to make sure that the sample is spinning, then close the top of the NMR and proceed to the next step. Now that there is a sample loaded onto the NMR, make sure your USB is plugged in, and if the program is not up, go ahead and open it. It is called A2, located at the bottom left of the screen. You will then run your sample by selecting H1 Acquisition at the top left of the screen. From that drop-down menu, select ACQ. Here, we will save the file onto the computer in a folder with your name on it. Make sure you use a title that you will be able to recognize what sample it is in case you need to locate it in the future. Once you have saved that file to your folder on the computer, the program will start to analyze the sample, and this will take a few minutes to complete. Once the run is complete, another screen will automatically pop up. This is the actual data you can now analyze to determine the carbon backbone of your molecule, and this is where you want to save it to your thumb drive. So select File, Save As, locate your thumb drive, then save it as something meaningful to you on your thumb drive. The NETS program to analyze this. The program is already on computers in Briar Computer Labs. You can also download the program to use it at home. You may now remove your sample and the thumb drive. Removing your sample is the same procedure as before. Lift the lid, turn the valve clockwise to eject your sample, then remove your sample, and use a Kim wipe to remove the spinner. If no one else is waiting to use the NMR, replace the sample with one of the standard samples. We will use the spacer to position the spinner, and then we will insert that sample into the NMR. Turn the valve counterclockwise to drop that sample. Check to make sure it's spinning, and then finally close the lid.